Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering Jubilees, chapters 10 through 12. Did you just say coveling?
I probably did. I was running out of breath. Just really getting right at the end there.
Woo! Great.
I was thinking covering. I was trying to say covering, but then I didn't. I said something else.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I have the Hermenia translation of Jubilees by James C. Vanderkam.
And, you know, along with that, we also have the Hermenia commentary on Jubilees from James C. Vanderkam.
Yeah, we do.
So
So
it's pretty incredible. And we all have all these Bibles to cross-reference things with. Because, you know, there's a lot of Genesis stuff in Jubilees, I would say. I would say it's almost entirely about Genesis. So, really glad we have all these Bibles.
Yep, that's great. It's wonderful. It's a commentary on a commentary on a commentary.
Yeah, it's great.
So, that's what we're doing. We're covering Chapter 10 today. Anything to say about this before I get into it? It's the demons, the Tower of Babel, and occupying the earth.
After the author has described in great detail the way in which Noah and his sons apportioned the habitable world, the reader might expect him to report next about the journeys of the sons and grandsons to their respective lands, many of which lay at great distances from Mount Lubar. Instead, the book presents a new episode about Noah's grandchildren, one that happens some 15 years or so after the division of the earth and before Noah's descendants started the trek toward their lands. At this time, demons, or Aganet, I'm guessing that's how it's said, I don't know, began attacking Noah's grandchildren. So, demons attacking Noah's grandchildren.
Oh, I remember that totally.
Yeah, this was in the Bible.
Yeah, the subject of demons had arisen briefly in 727. Yeah, that was last week we covered that, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Either way, where Noah told his offspring that he had seen how the demons have begun to lead you and your children astray. In addition, in Jubilees 1:11, the Lord had predicted to Moses that in the future the Israelites will sacrifice their children to demons. So, we got some callbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that curse.
Yeah, it's a real bummer, all these curses.
Yeah.
But they pop up a lot. Well, either way, let's learn about some demons, shall we? So this
Yeah, let's talk about demons.
Yes.
This is ancient Israelite demonology.
Yeah, it pretty much is. And demons are, much less important figures than angels in this book, but they have their own place.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right here.
This is one of the places, yes.
Yep, this is one of them.
And I guess we can hop into the reading. This is 15 years after the stuff we talked about last week.
All right.
So it's pretty much the same time has passed.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years since our last episode. So
I believe it.
See, I'm just saying it's been a long time.
Totally.
That was me being hyperbolic. See?
The people who far in the future who don't understand sarcasm, who are watching this, will think that you're being legitimate right now.
Yes, people of the future. I am being legitimate. The last episode that we had was 15 years ago today.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, I'll hop into it then. Noah's descendants, the demons, and Mestema. During the third week of this Jubilee, 1583 through 89, impure demons began to mislead Noah's grandchildren, to make them act foolishly, and to destroy them.
This sounds a lot like what the Watchers would be doing.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So there's some interesting stuff here. That was verse 1. You know what? Why don't you get through verse 2, and then I got some commentary.
All right. Then Noah's sons came to their father Noah and told him about the demons who were misleading, blinding, and killing his grandchildren.
So, the list of harmful deeds done by the demons continues in verse 2, where Noah's sons approach him about what was happening to their children. In the book of Noah, they approach him, but are accompanied by their children. In this case, once more, they model proper conduct by bringing an issue to their father rather than trying to resolve it on their own. They reiterate the charge of misleading and add to it blinding and killing. The results caused by the evil beings in Jubilees and the Book of Enoch parallel each other closely, though the verbs are not in exactly the same order. So let's take a look at some of these. So in Jubilees 10 through 12, we have misleading, making foolish, destroying, blinding, and killing. And then in the book of Noah, there is making foolish, misleading, harming and destroying, and killing. So it's the same stuff here. Here it is noteworthy that where Jubilees says nothing about sickness, diseases, and pain, all three figure in the book of Enoch, a hint toward its special interest in medical issues. So yeah, it talks a little bit more about the Book of Enoch, which I don't know if we'll read on this show.
We've read the Book of Enoch.
No, sorry, the Book of Noah.
Oh.
Did I say the Book of Enoch? I meant the Book of Noah. I meant the Book of Noah. It says the Book of Noah.
Wow. Okay.
What's on the pages, man?
Yeah.
What?
Read what's on the page.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Book of Noah. It says Book of Noah.
Thanks.
I don't know if we will ever read the Book of Noah on this show.
We may someday read the Book of Noah or not. Maybe.
Yeah, but it talks about the relationship between Jubilees and the Book of Noah the whole time.
Okay. Well, I'll keep going then.
See, now I'm wondering if I was saying Book of Enoch that whole time, or did I start off saying Book of Noah and then change it to Book of Enoch?
I think you started with Book of Enoch.
Oh, man, that's a bummer.
Did you just mentally filter that?
Maybe I did.
You must have, because
Maybe
that's what you did.
Maybe you're so uninterested in the Book of Noah that you can only think of the Book of Enoch.
Well, first of all, the Book of Enoch is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of cool stuff.
And it's a lot like what's going on with verse 1, which you brought up.
Yeah.
So
I see how that happened to me, but I'm still ashamed that happened to me.
Oh, well, we'll get through it.
Oh, thank you.
Anyways.
Yeah, that entire thing was about the Book of Noah, not Enoch.
Okay. He prayed before the Lord his God and said, God of the spirits which are in all animate beings, you who have shown kindness to me, saved me and my sons from the floodwaters, and did not make me perish as you did to the people, meant for destruction, because your mercy for me has been large and your kindness to me has been great. May your mercy be lifted over the children of your children, and may the wicked spirits not rule them in order to destroy them from the earth. That was
a hell of a verse.
Hell of a verse. Yeah. So this is a prayer that he's saying.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of it. Now you bless me and my children so that we may increase, become numerous, and fill the earth.
That as is tradition right there.
Right. You know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, have acted during my lifetime. As for those spirits who have remained alive, shut them up and hold them captive in the place of judgment. May they not cause destruction among your servants' sons, my God, for they are depraved and were created for the purpose of destroying.
I think it was mentioned before in this book that the angels were initially going to do good, right? That what they were doing was good. And then,
I don't recall them being created for the purpose of destroying. Maybe these demons who are descendants of them.
the thing is, it flip-flops like a lot. I think I brought this up last week, didn't I? Where there seemed to be a contradiction as to the reason these things are around. Like, were they there for evil or were they there for good? And then completely, I guess, taken the wrong way. They were corrupted, right?
I think
Shit like that.
They were like unintentional.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which
Like,
is
It was taken the wrong way, something like that.
Coupling.
Yeah, like coveling.
Yeah. But the Watchers are named as the fathers of these spirits, the demons that we're talking about.
Sure.
So
Keep an eye on those guys.
Yeah, we might run into them again.
Right, but they're not the giants, right? The giants are not being mentioned here.
Well, let's take a
And the Nephilim are not being mentioned here. This is a further on descendant of those. Right?
Well,
it takes place longer in the future, right?
this is further in the future, yes. However, let's check what the Hermenia commentary has to say. Noah next explains the character of the demons more fully, again in connection with the situation that brought on the flood. He reminds the Lord about that time by referring to the deeds of your watchers, apparently another indication that the angels originally came to the earth at God's command. Right, so coming for evil would be weird.
Right.
So let's continue here.
Mysterious ways.
Right.
He further identifies the Watchers as the fathers of these spirits. The words could be interpreted as conflicting with earlier statements in the book that the Watchers were the fathers of the giants. Jubilees, like the parallels in Syncelus and the Book of Noah, works with the teachings in First Enoch regarding the giants, the mixed race or bastards born from angelic fathers and women. The wicked spirits are absent from the versions of the angel story in First Enoch 6:11, apart from a note in 10:15 where Michael receives the order, destroy all the spirits of the half-breeds and the sons of the Watchers, because they have wronged men. The commentators debate whether the verse is original to its context, but the question is irrelevant to Jubilee's use of First Enoch. The key passage regarding the spirits is First Enoch 15:8 through 16:1, where Enoch is charged with bringing this message to the Watchers.
You really should bring Enoch here.
I could do that.
Unless this is about the Book of Noah again.
Nope, this is Enoch.
Oh, thank goodness. Because, I didn't want to have to tell you.
Yeah,
You did it again.
This definitely
the whole thing, the whole time?
definitely
It
Enoch.
was-
Yeah.
Made sure about it this time.
Oh, jeez. All right.
So here is you'll probably remember this. But now the giants who are begotten by the spirits and flesh, they will call them evil spirits on the earth, for their dwelling will be on the earth. The spirits that have gone forth from the body of their flesh are evil spirits. For humans, they came into from humans they came into being, and from the holy Watchers was the origin of their creation. And then it's basically the description of the giants.
All right.
And then it talks about
Large.
their end, from the day of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the soul of whose flesh the spirits are proceeding, they are making desolate without incurring judgment. One could make a case that in 15:8 these spirits are the offspring of the angel, of the angel women marriages. I was pretty sure that was it. Yeah. Because the verse refers to the giants and adds about them, they will call them evil spirits on the earth. That is, the giants are the evil spirits. First Enoch 15:9 through 16:1, however, clearly identifies these spirits as emanating from the bodies of the giants. Nicholsburg more plausibly explains that in these verses, the giants and the spirits that proceed from their dead bodies are spoken of as the same entities. So that's another
Okay.
interpretation there.
So it could be that after the flood, the spirits are released from the bodies of all these dead giants and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And those spirits are demons.
Oh, you know what this is starting to sound a lot like?
What?
Scientology.
Oh, it does sound a lot. That's speaking of Scientology. If you donate to Baal here, once
hey buddy, looking good, Paul.
Yeah. Once we hit $666 in donations, we will be getting a thetan meter, and we'll see who the most clear is among us. And
we'll take the thing apart, see how it works, try to manipulate it.
Yep. And we'll tell you all about Scientology.
Yeah, we will. So just to close off this note here, the terms spirits and demons are applied to these same beings. Compare verses 1 and 5.
Yeah.
Noah also describes the spirits as ones who have remained alive. It is an apt phrase in this context because after the watchers were imprisoned and the giants killed, the spirits alone remained to carry out their baleful influence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. After the
So his
flood,
interpretation is that they are still the evil spirits. They are now evil spirits. They were the giants in life, but in death they are the evil spirits.
You never
who are
even
the
get to
demons.
rest. Wow.
So the giants are the demons.
Yes.
Right. Okay, that's significantly less cool than real demons. I mean, real demons.
Real demons,
You
yeah.
know, fiction demons.
Those real fictional ones.
Yeah, those absolutely real fictional demons.
Yeah. May
No
they-
true demon.
Yeah, that's the no true demon fallacy.
Yeah.
May they not rule the spirits of the living for you. Alone know their punishment, and may they not have power over the sons of the righteous from now and forevermore. Then our God told us to imprison each one. When Mestema, the leader of the spirits, came,
I don't remember him being a leader of the spirits.
Well, this is the new leader of the demons, the evil spirits.
Okay. So this is. Oh, that's right. Oh, okay, right. Because we didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't cover that.
He said, Lord Creator, have some of them before me. Let them listen to me and do everything that I tell them. Because if none of them is left for me, I shall not be able to exercise the authority of my will among humanity. For they are meant for the purpose of destroying and misleading before my punishment, because the evil of humanity is great.
So the scene that follows in verses 8 through 11 is unexpected and one of the most bizarre in Second Temple literature. Just when it seemed as if Noah, through God, had averted the crisis and solved the problem, a new character arrives on the scene. Mestema, Ethiopic Jubilees, calls him either by this name alone or by the title the Prince of Mastema. So the Prince of Mastema. It occurs multiple times, but the two titles are probably the same, differing only by whether Makwanen, Prince, has the construct ending. That's literally the only thing that actually differentiates those. As Eshel observes, this is the first indication that there is a hierarchy among the evil spirits and demons because Mestema is designated as their leader. Mm-hmm. In Jubilees, he'll become the chief opponent of the chosen line and thus of Israel, with the angel of the presence who dictates the book to Moses serving as his counterpart. So we got a rivalry coming up. Here, he is the head of the demons, or evil spirits, and is opposed by the full contingent of the angels of the presence.
So when did this turn into an anime?
I don't know.
Kind of doing that, building up weird bad guys. They don't normally build up bad guys at all. Weird.
Well, they got to give them some credibility.
I know, but like they normally don't.
Yeah, but it's always better when you do.
When you do,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Either way. What'd you do? You
so-
Googled something?
Yeah, I
Oh
looked
my
up
God.
Mestema, right? So he carries out punishments for God as well as tempting humans and testing their faith. In the Zadokite fragments and the Dead Sea Scrolls, he is an angel of disaster, the father of all evil, and a flatterer of God. He is said to have been a fallen angel. He first appears in the literature of the Second Temple period as a personification of the Hebrew word mestema, meaning hatred, hostility, enmity, or persecution. Book of Jubilees is the only thing that it has as a thing, and then it has it in some popular fiction. But
Well, I mean, sure, but that's
yep,
popular fiction. That's classic.
yeah. So check it. Zadokite fragments and Dead Sea Scrolls. He's
Well,
in there.
Yeah, there's
And the name meaning is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Don't
Told
you
where
like
did this
hatred?
anime protagonist come from, or antagonist? Sorry.
Yeah, he's like, my name is Hatred.
Yeah, like why is hate here?
Why don't I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Then he said that 1/10 of them should be left before him, while he would make 9 parts descend to the place of judgment. He told one of us that we should teach Noah all their medicines, because he knew that they would neither conduct themselves properly nor contend fairly. We acted in accord with his entire command. All of the evil ones who were depraved we imprisoned in the place of judgment, while we left 1/10 of them to exercise power on the earth before the Satan.
Oh, good old the Satan. Not Satan. This isn't the devil. This is the Satan.
Right, and it's referring to Mastema, who is the Satan.
Or
in
the enemy,
this context.
in this
Sorry,
context.
which verse are you on?
I just finished verse 11. This is
Verse 11. Okay.
So Mastema, he makes this request to have some of them, and now it says that 1/10 of them are left before the Satan. Right?
Yeah.
So Mastema is the Satan in this context.
Yeah, so at the end of the verse, the author identifies Mastema as the Satan. In verse 8, Mastema had requested that some spirits be left before him to obey him, as these remaining spirits are now to serve before the Satan. The passage is another hint that Job 1 through 2 and perhaps Zechariah 3 are in the author's mind, since in those chapters the Lord's conversation partner is repeatedly identified as the Satan. Hannikin argues that Satan in the Ethiopic text of Jubilees 10:11 is a mistake made in the course of transmitting the book, either in Greek or Ethiopic, and is based on later associations with Satan. So that's interesting, because it's
Yeah. Well,
here's what he says about that. The context clearly refers to Mastema. Thus, if 10:11 did read Satan, there would be no doubt that Jubilees identifies the two names as one figure. The fact that Jubilees uses Satan's differently in 4 other places makes clear that a transmitter and not the author made the identification. Thus, we can say confidently that the original composition of Jubilees only used Satans to refer to adversaries in the most general sense. There is no textual evidence suggesting a mistake in Jubilees at this point. It seems more likely that Mastema is being called Satan or the Satan. So, I mean, those are two interesting viewpoints.
yeah.
And honestly,
gonna
I guess I could see it either way.
I'm going to go with it being a general reference to
Sure.
like
One of the Satans.
category of the Satan,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I would think.
Yeah, I think that the like individual Satan character is a much later development.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the whole, horns and pitchfork and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's later.
We told Noah all the medicines for their diseases with their deceptions so that he could cure them by means of the earth's plants. Noah wrote down in a book everything just as we taught him regarding all the kinds of medicine, and the evil spirits were stopped from pursuing Noah's children. He gave all the books that he had written to his oldest son Shem because he loved him much more than all of his sons.
Well, that's
Wow.
just
Favoritism.
yeah, it is
Wow.
favoritism.
Wow.
So this
Poor him.
Yeah, right?
Man, he gets the short end of the stick. So
Every time.
What's this book?
Yeah.
What's this ancient medicine book?
Gone.
So, what? Of course it is. One angel must have conveyed the message to the group, who in turn tutored Noah. Earlier in the story, the book of Noah pictured only Raphael as teaching Noah about healing remedies. But at this point, it says, and he sent the princes of the remaining spirits to show Noah the medicinal trees. The phrase, the princes of the remaining spirits, is strange. It sounds as if the leaders of the freed 10% are working against their own subordinates.
Is it in Hebrew at this point? Trees? Because remember that the trees can also refer to bushes.
Oh, I'm completely unsure of that. I would have to check the textual commentary.
Okay.
So this is from Himmelfarb. That's the name of the scholar. Thinks this is exactly what the writer intends to say. The angel Raphael begins the process of revelation in the book of Asaph, but to complete the revelation, he calls on the princes of the spirits who have not been imprisoned, that is, on demons. Jubilees has done a better job of covering up the tension in the picture of the origins of medical knowledge, but it can be discerned there too. Quote,
So the book of Asaph.
Yeah, hold on. This is quite a lot here. Quote, he told one of us that we should teach Noah all their medicines. That's 10:10. It is worth noting that the kinds of remedies given to Noah to ward off the evil spirits are included in the Book of the Watchers among the damaging secrets the fallen watchers reveal. Quote, and they taught them sorcery and spells and showed them the cutting of roots and herbs in First Enoch.
Right.
Note the association of magic and medicine. The negative evaluation of medicine is part of the larger rejection of the arts of civilization in the Book of the Watchers. Whatever the person who wrote the Book of Noah is attempting to say about medicine, it is unlikely that Jubilees shares in a negative evaluation of it. As noted above, the possessive there in their medicines probably relates to the diseases the demonic spirits cause, not to the ownership of the medicines by them. Moreover, the text of the Book of Noah makes no sense when it implies that the leaders of the evil spirits, spirits who are purely negative in the episode, reveal the remedies. The reading is probably corrupt, with Jubilees preserving a better identification.
Cool.
All right. So the book of Asaph.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
What is that? That's not in the Bible.
No, it's not.
No.
It's another apocryphal text.
It would have to be, unless it's like a weird division of other books.
Write it down. We gotta look into it later.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. The death of Noah. Noah slept with his fathers and was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. He completed 950 years in his lifetime, 19 jubilees, 2 weeks and 5 years. He who lived longer on the earth than other people except Enoch because of his righteousness in which he was perfect, i.e., in his righteousness, because Enoch's work was something created as a testimony for the generations of eternity, that he should report all deeds throughout generation after generation on the day of judgment. So, yeah, So they're like, okay, so Noah died, and then Enoch's doing all this stuff. Like, that was strange. Like, half of this section on the death of Noah is about Enoch.
Yeah, because it was, a very important descendant.
Mm-hmm. Now we're on to the Tower of Babel.
Yep.
Oh, neat.
During the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year, in the second week, 1576.
Although I should probably introduce this one here.
Also, it's like 5780 this year. 5781, maybe.
This one says that it's 57. Sorry. Wait, are you talking about this actual year?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, I don't know.
Following Rosh Hashanah.
I don't know.
I think it's 5780.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way. So yeah, the whole Tower of Babel thing is just kind of stuck here. So it's introduced directly into the genealogy of Shem's descendants by means of a play on the meaning of a person's name, just as he did for the division of the earth in the time of Peleg.
All right.
Yeah.
Peleg married a woman whose name was Lamna, the daughter of Sinaor. She gave birth to a son for him in the fourth year of this week, 1579, and he named him Ragu, for he said, humanity has now become evil.
Yeah, and the Greek transcribing of that is just Ragau.
Humanity has now become evil through the perverse plan to build themselves a city and tower in the land of Shinar. So, Shinar, where's this located on a map?
I have no idea. Doesn't say anything. Actually, hold on. Here it is. Here's something about Shinar. So Peleg is not making a prediction by naming his son Ragu, since that's fine. I'm saying it like that. Since he uses a past tense verb, konu, has become, and he alerts the reader to the character of the scheme that is in progress. Genesis 11:2 designates a plain in the land of Shinar, just Shinar in Jubilees, as the place to which people migrated, and where they built a city and a tower. And that's in 11:4. Jubilees more smoothly integrates the material of Genesis 11:1-9 into the flow of the narrative than does Genesis. There it seems several times in chapter 10 that the nations have already spread out on the earth, while at the beginning of chapter 11 they are again at one place, Shinar.
It still seems strange that they're not, they usually, like, earlier they were talking about rivers and, like, terrain and all sorts of stuff to describe areas.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, so this is in Shinar.
Yeah. You should just know where that is.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, read an ancient book or whatever.
For they had emigrated from the land of Ararat towards the east to Shinar, because in his lifetime they built the city and the tower, saying, let us ascend through it to heaven. Okay, so Shinar is west of Ararat. That's what we're getting. They began to build. In the fourth week, 1590-96, they used fire for baking, and bricks served them as stones.
Well, hold on. No, they went from the land of Ararat to the east, to Shinar.
For they had emigrated from the land of Ararat toward the east to Shinar.
Yes.
Toward the east, comma, to Shinar,
Yes.
comma.
Yeah.
So it's east of Ararat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because they say Ararat toward the east, right? So that could mean... But anyway, sure, let's go with Shinar being east of Ararat. This doesn't help me very
Okay.
much because I don't have a clear idea of where Ararat is right now.
Babylon.
Yeah, somewhere near Babylon. Okay. So they're trying to ascend to heaven. The mud with which they were plastering was asphalt that comes from the sea and from the water springs in the land of Shinar. Because of several mistakes in the Ethiopic tradition of the text, this verse makes little sense in the readings of the manuscripts.
Which verse is that again?
I think they're referencing 21 here. It comes after the verse.
21. Okay. I'll see what I have on 21.
It says a
Yes,
Greek
yes, it is 21.
citation of the passage provides a clearer text. The translation's based on the citation in the Catena de Genesis. Comment on Genesis 11:4.
Yeah, so there are severe textual problems in the Ethiopic text of this verse, but a Greek citation of it presents a superior reading. In the Catena to Genesis, a comment on 11:4 preserves a quotation of Jubilees that allows one to see more clearly what the text said and how it may have been corrupted into the form it takes in the Ethiopic version. There are 5 parts to the text of the verse, with the order differing in the 2 versions. So, initially, the Ethiopic, they built it. Actually, read the verse.
Okay. They continued building for 43 years. The height was 5,433 cubits in 2 spans. The width about 203 bricks. The height of the brick was 1/3 of 1 brick.
Oh, that helps.
The
Great
extent
metric.
of one wall was 13 stades, and of the other 30. Holy shit, what? The height of the brick was 1/3 of 1 brick.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So let's talk a little bit about that. That was all verse 21, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here are some readings. So this first one is so there are 5 parts to the text of the verse, with the order differing in the 2 versions. So Ethiopic, they built it. They spend 43 years building it, and then the Greek, they continued building for 43 years. Either of these could be the original reading, although it is not apparent why the Ethiopic text, which had said in verse 20, they began to build, added, they built it. So let's compare again. Ethiopic text with complete bricks whose width was 13 units, literally complete bricks, 13 in it. And then the Greek has the width about 203 bricks. The Greek text makes clear that the phrase about 203 bricks refers to the width of the tower. The Ge'ez, that's the Ethiopian text, gives no indication about the referent to the number 13, but the word complete may be a mistake for width, because the word complete is feshuma, and the word for its width is shefu. And then furthermore, that's one of the things. And this one was the weird one, right? And whose height was, this is the Ethiopic, and whose height was 1/3 of 1. But then the Greek says, of the brick, the height, 1/3 of 1 brick. Here too, the referent whose height is given is not stated in the Ethiopic reading, but is clear in the Greek text. It still makes little sense, let's be honest.
I have a theory as an ex-bricklayer. Are you ready?
Oh, great, okay.
Bricks have a height, a width, and a depth. And each one is 1/3 of each other.
Okay.
That should help. Does that make sense? Like the height of the brick is 1/3 of it. Is 1/3 of its width and 1/3 of its depth.
Okay.
So its depth is the smallest, obviously. You've seen
Sure,
bricks. They actually are.
Yes,
right
I
there.
have seen bricks.
Yeah. It's not hard to determine that, but I know that as usually a standard for building them. So.
Okay, so 1 cubit is roughly 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like
Meaning-
it's weird though, right? Because
your
it's your forearm. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like whose forearm?
So, but it's roughly 1.5
Why Pharaoh
feet.
Xerxes
Yeah.
the seventh?
So
currently,
if
of
we
course.
multiply 5,433 cubits by 1.5, we get 8,149.5 feet, right?
Well,
So
actually there is some more notes on this. So
That's a big
the next part
base,
is
though.
its height rose to 5,433 cubits, 2 spans. Then the Greek has its height was 5,433 cubits and 2 spans instead of 2 spans. One could infer from the Ethiopic text that the height of the tower was under discussion, but it is not explicit. Placement of the Greek measure directly after the notice that the people continued building for 43 years relates the large number to the height of the tower.
how long is a span?
Let's see.
Is that their smaller metric? I feel like it's a finger digit
Let's see. That's verse 21.
or like your palm or something.
Yeah, because like if a span is
Bigger.
half of this number of cubits, then it would make sense to say 2 spans. But if it's not, then and 2 spans would make more sense. Right?
Yeah, sadly, I don't know.
Well, in any case, this is like, 8,000 feet tall, maybe 9,000 feet tall. Who knows? But it's pretty tall. How
Yeah.
tall is the tallest building?
We
in
don't
the
have
world?
things
so
like
if a
that.
cubit is approximately 1.5 feet, a span, so a span is a half cubit.
It's, the Burj
And-
Khalifa is 2,000.
Oh, that thing's enormous.
700.
I don't know its
I think
exact
it's
height, but it's enormous.
2,770, something like that. That's my guess. I remember reading it a bunch.
So we're nowhere near this.
No,
Not reasonably.
no, the Burj Khalifa is
Yeah,
crazy tall.
But it's still nowhere near the Tower of Babel.
People are just amazed that that thing's standing.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's an absurd number then. So maybe
hold
there's-
on. Let me read this.
Okay.
If a cubit is about 1.5 feet, a span a half cubit, and a stade approximately 600 feet, the dimensions of the tower are monstrous. It would have been about 1.5 miles high,
Yeah.
with the walls extending more than 1.5 miles in one direction and 3.75 miles in the other.
So this is like one of those theoretical superstructures that they always used to talk about on the History Channel or the Discovery Channel, like mega structures of the future. They'd have these weird things and they're never going to build them because they're just absurdly huge. And they have these massive basin that they fit the whole city in pretty much. You know what I mean? Like a prefabricated one structure city. That's the same size as this. You'd need like all of the reinforced steel of like a region or a continent to build this thing. And they didn't have steel.
No, they're using asphalts that they got from.
I'm not buying that
yeah.
you could do that.
They got some mud from the sea and some
It's
asphalt.
a magical substance.
It was some really good mud, guys.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
really top class.
triple S tier.
But I, even if they're spending 43 years, there's no way that they would even get close to building at that height and remain structurally sound. Like,
Oh, yeah,
it
no
wouldn't
way.
be possible.
They'd have to build a literal mountain. And that could be...
You know what? Okay, how about this? For the first 20 years, they built a mountain and they let it harden. And then, after the next 20 years,
Put a thing on top.
they put another mountain on top of it.
So there's only 203 bricks wide, though. So,
Okay, a really weird hill.
well, what I was gonna say was that maybe
No, actually, you know what? They built a Devil's Tower a couple times.
yeah, but
some of the weirdest things I've heard the justification for is it was a solid core and they just built a stairway around the sides. And I'm like,
a solid core, you can't move that shit in the ancient world.
no,
Solid.
they mean like they built a core with just brick
okay.
lattice.
I see. Okay.
And they didn't
I
have
thought
like
you meant
open
like a
spaces in it. It was literally going to be a mound of bricks, similar to a pyramid almost
sure.
in that sense. And then
The thing is
they'd
that
have stairways along the outside of it.
well, the thing is the Tower of Babel would have been referring to an actual ziggurat or that would have existed under in Babylon at the time. I forget the name of the king who had set it up, but yeah, it was apparently huge, and that was a real thing.
Yeah.
But it definitely was not 1.5, or sorry,
It's not a
yeah,
mile,
1.5 miles high.
Yeah, no.
Well, what I was gonna say is that because it's an absurd number, maybe it has something to do with gematria. Maybe it's like some Jewish numerology thing.
Or maybe it was imaginary. I don't know.
Well, like the gematria is important in the Judaism.
Sure.
Did you say in the Judaism?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can find out about it on the Google machine.
I don't see anything related to gematria in here. I mean, it could
Okay.
be, but I don't know.
Then the Lord our God said to us, "The people here are one, and they have begun to work. Now nothing will elude them. Come, let us go down and confuse their languages, so that they do not understand one another, and are dispersed into the cities and the nations, and one plan no longer remains with them until the day of judgment."
Yeah, so there are some stark differences here between this narrative and the one in Genesis. So in Genesis 11, and the Lord God said, "Look, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they will not understand one another's speech." So that was the end of that. But in Jubilees, so, they're not going to understand each other's speech. And then it goes on to say, "and are dispersed into cities and nations, and one plan no longer remains with them until the day of judgment."
That makes no sense.
It means that they can't organize.
Yeah. Oh, man. You know what God forgot about? People learning each other's languages.
Yeah.
He forgot that people.
He forgot about robots.
He forgot about potential robots in the future, and he also forgot about people knowing more than one language.
Oh, those Duolingo folks.
Yeah.
Translators, man.
Oh yeah. Mr. Twister, love that name. For some reason, I really love that name. Bilinguals and polyglots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
See. Spanish. That's
Duh.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Yes.
So the Lord went down, and we went down with him to see the city and the tower that humanity had built. He confused every sound of their language. So no one any longer understood what the other was saying. Then they stopped building the city and the tower. For this reason, the whole land of Shinar was named Babel, because there God confused all the languages of humanity. From there, they were dispersed into their cities, each according to their languages and their nations. The Lord sent a wind at the tower and tipped it to the ground. It is now between Ashur and Babylon, in the land of Shinar. He named it Collapse.
So Genesis is silent about the fate of the tower. It mentions that the builders stopped constructing the city and were dispersed over the earth. The implication is that the work on the tower was also abandoned, but did the unfinished tower remain standing? Could people who might yet settle in the area of Babel try to complete the building? Jubilees is one of the ancient sources that addresses just such questions. To the story in Genesis 11:1-9, it adds that the Lord himself knocked the tower over by sending a wind against it. Thus, it could no longer serve as a foundation for further work. In a lot of the biblical movies or cartoons that you've seen, I'm sure that there's the scene that has the Tower of Babel, and then it gets knocked over. It goes down, right? Unless this is some weird Mandela effect shit.
Yeah, you had a dream about this in 1997, and you're just recalling it now.
Yeah.
Damn.
Never happened to anyone else.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a bummer.
Yeah, no.
But anyways,
I'm
my
kidding. It's
my
been
dream is true
depicted in
fact.
popular culture that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not in there. That's just kind of like assumed, I guess, because because of this. According to the author, it is now
because there's obviously not
one standing there now.
Yeah.
According to the author, it is now in Shinar between Ashur and Babylon. The form used is Babylon, not Babel, as in the name for the area of Shinar. But the tower, he continues, is only a ruin and is appropriately named Collapse. A suggested explanation of collapse is that it derives from a play on the name Shinar. The last three consonants of which, because I can't read that. Do you want to read that? Right there, Shinar.
Yeah, it says Shinar.
Great. Okay. Well, like, I don't know what the Hebrew-y.
Oy vey,
No, like-
Shinar.
What that, Ruben? No, it's not at all what he wanted.
What I mean, it's literally Shinar. What do you want me to do, Lawrence?
Dude, it's not like a fancy
What are the last three consonants of that?
Nar.
To fucking
Right, it goes Shin,
Shin,
Nun,
Nun,
Ayin,
Ayin,
Resh.
Resh. Okay. Great. So the last three consonants of which relate to a verb meaning to shake. The explanation is attested in various early sources, but the noun in Ethiopic Jubilees means fall, ruin, overthrow, or downfall, not shake or shaking. So the explanation remains uncertain. Two entities, therefore, receive names in the story. The land of Shinar is Babel, and the tower ruins are Collapse. The nearest parallel to the windy demise of the tower is in the section about it in the Sibylline Oracles. So the Sibylline Oracles, for those that don't know, these were also, I think they're also second, first century BC texts that were, purported to be from oracles, and I think they span also to the first century CE. So they have quite the range on them when they were written, because there's a whole bunch of them, and of course they are attributed to this one person, Sybil, and they have a lot of very mystical references, but it's easy to tell where they're getting at. Like there's a reference there to Nero, for example, in one of them. I think it was book 4. I actually discussed it in our video on Revelation. So yeah, that's what the Sibylline Oracles is. It's just a lot of those. Either way, so there's a reference there in the Sibylline Oracles. The passage directly precedes the unit regarding division of the earth into 3 parts. But when the threats of the great God are fulfilled, with which he once threatened men when they built the tower in the land of Assyria, they were all of one language. And they wanted to go up to starry heaven, but immediately the immortal one imposed a great compulsion on the winds. Then the winds cast down the great tower from on high, and stirred up strife for mortals among themselves. Therefore humans gave the city the name Babylon. But when the tower fell, and the tongues of men were diversified by various sounds, the whole earth of humans was filled with fragmenting kingdoms. Yeah, so whatever the meaning of the story may be in Genesis, in Jubilees it becomes another expression of the vain human desire to transgress the barrier between heaven and earth.
I wonder what they were referring to. Maybe there was like a wall.
No, if you're talking about like an actual thing, it would have been the actual ziggurat that was in Babylon.
But the way that they explain it, what they're referencing to is this tall tower.
Yeah.
Right? It falls down, It's now between Ashur and
Oh,
Babylon.
sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So the physical tower and why it's gone and where it is now, I guess.
Well, when they say it tipped
In the
to the
story.
ground, that would imply that it's sideways.
Sure.
So what? Is it a wall? What are they referring? Because if they're giving a direct reference to something
between Ashur,
where they're saying
and-
it is now between Ashur and Babylon.
Yeah, I don't know.
There must have been something that they were referencing.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, Asher, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Get it, Asher?
Yeah.
Because sounds like sure,
Sure.
the thing we say,
Sure.
Wonderful. Anyways.
but also Asher.
Canaan steals land from Arpachshad.
Good enough.
Yep. In the 4th week during the 1st year, at its beginning of the 34th Jubilee, 1639, they were dispersed from the land of Shinar. Ham and his sons went to the land that he was to occupy, which he had acquired as his share in the southern country. When Canaan saw that the land of Lebanon, as far as the stream of Egypt, was very beautiful, he did not go to his hereditary land to the west of the sea. He settled in the land of Lebanon, on the east and west, from the border of the Jordan and on the seacoast.
He just wanted everything.
Yeah. His father, Ham, and his brothers Cush and Mizraim said to him, "You have settled in a land that was not yours and did not emerge for us by lot. Do not act this way, for if you do act this way, both you and your children will fall in the land and be cursed with dissension, because you have settled in dissension, and in dissension your children will fall and be uprooted forever."
Yeah, so Canaan, cursed once already, would be cursed a second time more than all Noah's offspring.
Do not settle in Shem's residence, because it emerged by their lot for Shem and his sons. You are cursed and will be cursed more than all Noah's children, and through the curse by which we obligated ourselves with an oath before the holy judge and before your father Noah. But he did not listen to them. He settled in the land of Lebanon, from Hamath to the entrance of Egypt, he and his sons until the present. For this reason, that land was named the land of Canaan. Now Madai requests and receives a different land. Japheth and his sons went toward the sea and settled in the land of their share. Madai saw the land near the sea, but it did not please him. So he pleaded for land from Elam, Ashur, and Arpachshad, his wife's brother. He has settled in the land of Medican near his wife's brother until the present. He named the place where he lived and the place where his children lived Medican, after their father Madai.
Yeah, so the other and less controversial grandson who had second thoughts about his designated place was Madai. Jubilees 9:9 lists him as the third son of Japheth, to whom an island territory west of his brothers Gomer and Magog was apportioned, apparently the northern European coast and its islands. As noted in the commentary on Jubilees 9:9, the placement makes good sense of the order in which the names of Japheth's sons appear in Genesis 10:2. However, it would have been well known to the readers of Jubilees that in fact the land of Madai, Media, lay far to the east. The writer accounts for the anomaly by supplying a story about the dissatisfaction felt by Madai for the territory near the sea. Apparently, he and his family walked all the way to the remote area. He inspected it, and he decided he didn't like it. So, okay. That was his way of explaining why it's not how it was not the place that it obviously was, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a timeshare. Get out of there.
It's like there's a problem here. Let's write a commentary about it and fix the problem.
Yep. But that's the end of that chapter. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like or a dislike and share it with your friends, family, neighbors, everyone that you've ever met.
Especially everyone that you've ever met.
Yeah.
If you don't share it with everybody that you've ever met.
What are you doing?
That's okay. You know, I understand as many as you can get.
Why would you not share? Okay, so now you have a genealogy to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
At least a chunk of it. The Shemite genealogy from Ragu to Abram, the growth of evil and the early exploits of Abram. So now we're getting to the I don't know, would you call this the good stuff?
No, it's like a reverse
I know
Tootsie Pop.
I know it's a genealogy and that's not going to be great, but I mean, when we finally start getting into the whole Abraham story arc, is that when it starts getting good?
I don't know. We got some demonology.
It was cool then.
Whoa. Okay. In the 35th Jubilee, during the third week, in its first year, 1681, Ragu married a woman whose name was Ara, the daughter of Ur, Kased's son.
So, Ur Kased's son is meant to reflect Ur of the Chaldeans in Genesis 11:28.
Okay. Yeah, which is actually also a good piece of evidence demonstrating that it was written after.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was written a while. It wasn't...
It's a commentary.
Definitely not written by Moses.
Right.
The thing in Genesis.
Right. The territory in question was a part of Shem's lot, and his son Arpachshad in particular.
She gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Sarug in the 7th year of this week. During this jubilee, Noah's children began to fight one another, to take captives, and to kill one another, to shed human blood on the earth, to consume blood, to build fortified cities, walls, and towers, men to elevate themselves over peoples, to set up the first kingdoms, to go to war, people against people, nations against nations, city against city, and everyone to do evil, to acquire weapons, and to teach warfare to their sons.
So,
Yeah, it seems like a subject is being left out here.
yes. Why does he place this in the generation of Sarug? Several comments are in order. First, the presence of the list in verse 2 is in part etymologically motivated. As happens more often in the post-flood genealogy, the meaning of a character's name relates to circumstances at his time. Second, some of the items in the catalog recall sins against which Noah had warned his descendants. In particular, the narrator mentioned shedding and consuming blood. Noah had addressed these issues more than once. And now, so soon after his death, his descendants were doing what he had feared. Third, and most importantly, various items on the list suggest that without naming him, the Nimrod of Genesis 10:8-12 was in the author's mind. He had mentioned him in 8:7. Abram married a woman whose name was Azura, the daughter of Nebrod, reflecting a Greek spelling for Masoretic text, Nimrod, but said nothing more about him. The actions attributed to Nimrod in Genesis are remarkable, and his name was only too easily interpreted as meaning rebellion or the like.
And then later used to mean something completely different.
You Nimrod.
Yeah, you Nimrod.
Yeah, in Genesis, though he's a descendant of Ham, he's associated with cities that in Jubilees should be in Shem's patrimony, including the land of Shinar and Babel itself, where the tower had been.
By the way, to acquire weapons and to teach warfare to their sons, city began to capture city and to sell male and female slaves. Ur, Kased's son, built the city of Ara of the Chaldeans. He named it after himself and his father. They made carved images for themselves. Oh no. Each one would worship the idol that he had made as his own carved image. They began to make statues, images, and unclean things. The spirits of the depraved ones were helping and misleading them. The depraved ones, I'm guessing those are the demons now?
The depraved ones. That's in verse 4.
Yes.
Okay. The depraved ones. Yeah, they're depraved, misleading, resulted in human sin and transgression. And as impure demons, they brought about impurity and their victims. So these are the demons.
Great.
That we had referenced earlier. Also, about Ur, since Ur of the Chaldeans appears in Genesis, it says, the text says that Ur named it after himself and his father Kesed. The manuscripts represent the name of the city as Ara, like the name of Ragu's wife in verse 1. There's no explanation for the origin of Ur or its name in Genesis. So this is like correcting an error, I guess, in verse 3. But yeah, in verse 4, this is referring to the demons.
Sure. Either way, so they're talking about the demons here. Yeah, the spirits of the depraved ones were helping and misleading them so that they would commit sins, impurities, and transgression. Prince Mastema was exerting his power in effecting all these actions, and by means of the spirits, he was sending to those who were placed under his control the ability to commit every kind of error and every kind of error and sin and every kind of transgression, to corrupt, to destroy, and to shed blood on the earth. For this reason, Serug was named Serug, because everyone turned to commit every kind of sin.
So, in chapter 10, Mestema is the commander of the spirits.
And everything is going to shit.
Yeah. Here, the reader encounters for the first time the title Makwanen.
And this is a human person. It's a human person who's in charge of this.
That's used with his name principally in two other locations near the sacrifice of Isaac and the Exodus story. It's not a human person. He's a demon.
No, so was Ragu a person?
Ragu was a person.
And he married Ara, who was a person.
Yeah.
And she gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Serug.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
human person.
Prince Mastema isn't a human person.
No, he isn't.
Right. That's what I was saying.
But Serug is a human person.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Serug.
I was talking about Serug.
I'm talking about the commentary that I'm talking about the title Makwanen.
Okay.
That's used with his name.
Okay.
Mestema.
Okay.
Which is why he gets Prince, but it appears in 4Q 225 pseudo Jubilees. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna continue with the genealogy then. He grew up and settled in Ur of the Chaldeans near the father of his mother. He was a worshiper of idols. Oh no. During the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in its first year, 1744, he married a woman whose name was Melka, the daughter of Keber, the daughter of his father's brother. So his cousin.
First cousin.
Yep.
Yeah.
She gave birth to Nahur for him during the first year of this week, 1744. He grew up and settled in Ur, in the one that is the... So they're trying to distinguish this. Okay. He grew up and settled in Ur, in the one that is the Ur of the Chaldeans. His father taught him the studies of the Chaldeans, to practice divination, and to augur by the signs of the sky. During the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in its first year, 1800, he married a woman whose name was Iyasika, the daughter of Nestag of the Chaldeans. She gave birth to Terah for him in the 7th year of this week, 1806. So yeah, cousins having a baby. They taught the baby lots of bad things like divination.
Astrology.
Ugh, gross.
They're like, oh yeah, I'll read your horoscope. Ooh.
Oh, thank you. I've always wanted my horoscope read.
Oh yeah. What's your sign?
I don't remember. I think I'm a Capricorn.
Capricorn. That means that you'll have a good day.
Wow.
Wow.
See that all other Capricorns everywhere. I'm not a Capricorn, by the way. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah,
But
Oh, that means you'll have a fucking terrible day.
shit! I hear that, fellow Geminis. We're gonna have a horrible day collectively.
Yep.
Man, if only the world were so simple.
It isn't.
I know. Then Prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to eat the seed that would be planted in the ground and to destroy the land in order to rob humanity of their labors. Yeah, so they're just making the place uninhabitable, basically. Before they plowed in the seed, the ravens would pick it up from the surface of the ground. For this reason, he named him Terah, because the ravens and birds were reducing them to poverty and eating their seed. The years began to be unfruitful due to the birds. They would eat all the fruit of the trees from the orchards. During their time, if they were able to save a little of all the fruit of the earth, it was with great effort.
Oof.
So they had to try really hard just to get a little bit of food, because these damn birds.
Yeah. So Terah is Abram's father.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're about to get into it.
During the 39th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 1st year, 1870, Terah married a woman whose name was Edna, the daughter of Abram. Okay, so the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister.
Okay. Terah married a woman named Edna. Methuselah's wife had the same name. In this case, the author specifies that she was the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And the Syriac list expresses the same relationship with different words. Of Terah, Edna, the daughter of his uncle, Abram. Cedrenus echoes the relationship, while Ninus, the first king of the Assyrians, was in the 43rd year of his reign. Abraham was born. Terah, when he was 70 years of age, became, through his wife Edna, the daughter of his father's brother Abraham. That is, according to the Byzantine historian, Terah's wife was his cousin, since his father, Nahur, had a brother named Abraham or Abram, whereas the other texts present this Abraham as Nahor's brother-in-law. All witnesses agree, however, that Terah, like many of his ancestors, married a cousin who should be a fitting mother for Abram. So she names her son after her father.
Okay. Also, while you were reading that whole thing, I remembered something. Yeah, that my fingernails grow as fast as the tectonic plates move.
Wow, you specifically?
Yeah.
Just you, huh?
Yep.
It's real slow.
Yeah. Thought you should know that. I think it's more interesting than a genealogy. Talking about who is whose aunt and uncle and cousin that they're fucking.
Yeah, the entire book of Genesis is all about incest. It's probably not good to advertise it to children.
Okay, let's continue reading here on more family stuff. In Yeah, the daughter of his father's sister. In the 7th year of this week, 1876, she gave birth to a son for him, and he named him Abram after his mother's father because he had died before his daughter's son was conceived. The child began to realize the errors of the earth, that everyone was going astray after the statues, and after impurity. His father taught him the art of writing. When he was 2 weeks of years, 14 years, guessing when he was 14 years old, he separated from his father in order not to worship idols with him. He began to pray to the creator of all that he would save him from the errors of humanity, and that it might not fall to his share to go astray after impurity and wickedness. You'd think.
So this is the first time since Noah that a character prays to the creator of all, a title that appears.
At least that we're told, but yes.
Yeah,
Thank you, Spider.
Thank you, Spider the Ateo. Thumbs up.
Did you give him a thumbs up?
I gave him a thumbs up.
Good. Glad you did that. He deserves it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I hope we still have the things on where they're popping up. Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Good. Yep.
So either way, yeah, he's going to be really good, and it's interesting that this teenager is who would have taught him about this stuff, about the stuff that he should be doing?
Giant rat in sewers.
Or did he just like intrinsically knew that it was just wrong?
He just knew.
Okay.
It was a priori.
Okay, gotcha. When the time for planting seeds in the ground arrived, all of them went out together to guard the seeds from the ravens. Yeah, I'm sure. Abram, a child of 14 years, went out with those who were going out. As a cloud of ravens came to eat the seed, Abram would run at them before they could settle on the ground. He would shout at them before they could settle on the ground to eat the seed, and would say, "Do not come down. Return to the place from which you came." And I don't know why I gave him that accent. And
He's ridiculous.
And they returned. That day, he did this to the cloud of ravens 70 times. Wow, he did a lot.
Yeah.
Not a single raven remained in any of the fields where Abram was. He was the first scarecrow. All who were with him in any of the fields would see him shouting. Then all the ravens returned to their place. His reputation grew large throughout the entire land of the Chaldeans. Yeah, the child who scares ravens.
Yeah.
He'll scare birds for you.
This is what I'm thinking.
Wow.
So
what a guy.
There are no close parallels to the Raven story in Jewish literature, but besides the citation of the Abram stories in the Syriac Chronicle, there are two other Syriac works that preserve a tale resembling the one in Jubilees. One is a letter by Jacob of Edessa, circa 640 to 708 CE, to John of Latarba.
So pretty late.
Yep. And the other is the Katina of Severus from 861 CE. Sebastian Brock has provided some translations. Okay, so there's some similar.
Yeah, I think there's some.
Up.
I think there are lots of similarities here in between. Anything with the scarecrow.
Yeah.
Parallel right there.
Corey D. Crawford argued that the story about Abram and the ravens rose from a concern with a problem presented in Genesis 15, a chapter that clearly influenced the narrative. He finds more fundamental relation between the story in Genesis 15, furnishes a solution to a difficulty created by Genesis 15:18. There, once the ceremony involving the animal pieces ends, the Lord says to Abram, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates." The verb translated "give" in the NRSV is actually a perfect tense form, so the straightforward meaning would be, To your descendants I have given this land. Abram himself, however, never received much of the promised land, just one field, and his descendants never possessed territory matching the boundaries sketched in Genesis 15:8 through 19.
Okay.
According to Crawford, the person who fashioned the Raven story sensed the difficulty posed by the verbal form. He took this word.
Well, that would be a weird way to explain that.
Yeah, but he takes seed to be a literal sense of seed, the non-human kind.
Okay.
And understood the statement to mean the Lord was describing a promise he had already fulfilled.
Okay.
It doesn't comport with evidence,
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
but interesting interpretation here.
Either way, I think I just have one more verse left in this.
Yeah, this was like all the interesting stuff from the commentary that was about anything towards the end here.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm coming up to the end. So yeah, his reputation grew large throughout the entire land of the Chaldeans. All who were planting seed came to him in this year, and he kept going with them until the seed time came to an end. They planted their land, and that year brought in enough food, so they ate and were filled. In the 5th year of the fifth week, 1891, Abram taught the people who made equipment for bulls, the skillful woodworkers, and they made an... How the fuck did he teach them anything? The skillful woodworkers, and they made an implement above the ground. Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Opposite the plow beam, so that one could place seed on it. The seed would then drop down from it onto the end of the plow and be hidden into the ground. And they would no longer be afraid of the ravens. They made something like this above the ground on every plow beam. They planted seed, and all the land did as Abram told them. So they were no longer afraid of the birds. I don't know why they would have been afraid of the birds.
So they find a way to properly store their grain.
Yeah, or just put it under the ground right away. Because they weren't doing that already.
Yeah.
Like even if you're doing it manually.
They would like throw the seeds and then plow, apparently. And now they're plowing
I guess.
while they put the seeds in with a new piece of technology.
Yeah.
Not even provided by God. God gets no credit for it.
Yeah.
No, because it was Abram. It was his idea.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Anyways, that is the end of chapter 11.
That it is. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, subscribe, comment, share it with all your friends, family, neighbors.
Yep.
Your family's neighbors.
Yeah.
Not your neighbors, your family's neighbors.
Yep. So let's get into chapter 12 here. Abram and the idols, the journey to Haran,
Exciting.
and the call to Canaan. Abram's attempt to convert his father and brothers.
Yeah, this chapter begins by continuing the series of stories about the remarkable son of Terah, who had already arrived at a unique theological insight, worship of the one God, the creator of all. Yeah, that was like right away. That was the first thing.
During the 6th week in the 7th year, 1904, Abram said to his father Terah, "My father," he said. "Yes, my son." He said, "What help and advantage do we get from these idols before which you worship and prostrate yourself? For there is no spirit in them because they are dumb. They are an error of the mind. Do not worship them. Worship the God of heaven who makes the rain and dew fall on the earth and makes everything on the earth. He created everything by his word, and all life comes from his presence. Why do you worship those things that have no spirit in them? For they are made by the hands, and you carry them on your shoulders. You receive no help from them, but instead they are a great shame for those who make them, and an error of the mind for those who worship them. Do not worship them." Then he said to him, "I too know this, my son. What shall I do with the people who have ordered me to serve in their presence? If I tell them what is right, they will kill me because they themselves are attached to them, so that they will worship and praise them. Be quiet, my son, so that they do not kill you. When he told these things to his brothers, they became angry at him, and he remained silent. Marriages of Abram, Haran, and Nahur.
Yeah, so I mean that stuff was pretty self-explanatory. He tries to convert his dad, but his dad is like, no, because if we convert, we're gonna they're gonna come after us for converting. But I know what I'm doing is wrong. I'm not gonna change it.
Like a lot of Christians. During the 40th Jubilee in the second week in its 7th year, 1925, Abram married a woman whose name was Sarai, the daughter of his father, and she became his wife. His brother, Haran, married a woman in the 3rd year of the 3rd week, 1928, and she gave birth to a son for him in the 7th year of the week, 1932. He named him Lot. His brother, Nahur, also got married. So, yeah, here we get Abram's marrying his sister.
Classic.
Here they don't specify that she's his half-sister.
Right. It could be his half-sister, his, full-blooded sister. I don't know. It's not really super clear. By the way, the Jubilees mentions the marriages of all 3 brothers in this paragraph and postpones Haran's death to the next episode. In identifying Sarai, Jubilees calls her the daughter of his father, and in so doing draws information from Genesis 20:12 into the wedding notice. There, Abraham explains to King Abimelech of Gerar, whom he had told that Sarah was his sister, besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. So yeah, there's the half-sister thing. Note that Jubilees practically quotes the latter part of the verse here. In this way, and already at this point, the writer provides warrant for the patriarch's later statement. As Halpern Amaru explains, the identifying words, the daughter of his father, rule out the inference that he married his niece, since Sarai is not the Iscah of Genesis 11:29. Moreover, Abram's brother Haran had not yet married by this time, much less had a daughter. She adds that the entry regarding Sarai parallels the ones for the earliest matriarchs. Yeah, and I think we talked about that a little bit in the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Some of the matriarchal lists.
Yeah. In the 60th year of Abram's life, which was the 4th week in its 4th year, 1936, Abram got up at night and burned the temple of the idols. He burned everything in the temple, but no one knew about it. They got up at night and wanted to save their gods from the fire. Haran dashed in to save them, but the fire raged over him. He was burned in the fire and died in Ur of the Chaldeans before his father Terah. They buried him in Ur of the Chaldeans. Then Terah left Ur of the Chaldeans, he and his sons, to go to the land of Lebanon and the land of Canaan. He settled in Haran, and Abram lived with his father in Haran for 2 weeks of the years.
So, in addition to using the story to mock the impotence of the idols, the writer employs it to explain the words, Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans, and that's Genesis 11:28. He took before in a temporal sense. In fact, Haran died many years before his father's life ended. As the commentators have pointed out, the author also subscribed to the widespread tradition of reading in Ur of the Chaldeans, not only as an indication of place, but also as in the fire of the Chaldeans. Haran's vigorous yet futile and ultimately fatal attempt to save the gods documents what a convinced idolater he was. If he were merely pretending to worship the statues, would he have risked his life trying to rescue them from the flames? Because of his failed attempt, Haran was the only member of Abram's immediate family to be buried in Ur.
All right. Now Abram encounters God. In the 6th week, during its 5th year, 1951, Abram sat at night at the beginning of the 7th month to observe the stars from evening to dawn in order to see what would be the character of the year with respect to the rains.
Oh, so he's doing some
Meteorology.
yeah, it's meteorology.
With meteors. He was sitting and observing by himself. A voice came to his mind and said, "All the signs of the stars and the signs of the moon and the sun, all are under the Lord's control. Why should I be investigating them? If he wishes, he will make it rain in the morning and evening, and if he wishes, he will not make it fall. Everything is under his control." That night he prayed and said, my God, God most high, you alone are my God. You have created everything. Everything that was and has been is the product of your hands. You and your lordship I have chosen. Save me from the power of the evil spirits who rule the thoughts of people's minds. May they not mislead me from following you, my God. Do establish me and my posterity forever. May we not go astray from now until eternity. Then he said, shall I return to Ur of the Chaldeans, who are looking for me to return to them? Or am I to remain here in this place? Make the path that is straight before you prosper through your servant, so that he may do it. May I not proceed in the error of my mind, my God.
So apparently as a continuation of the prayer introduced by the he said thing in verse 19. I think it was in verse 20? I don't know.
21.
Okay. Abram makes, and then the other one was in verse 19. That was the first one. Mm-hmm. Abram makes another very specific request to God. He asked him to make clear whether he is to return to Ur or remain where he is. His question is intriguing, since the more distant goal of the journey of Terah and his family was Canaan. Canaan seems to have dropped from Abram's plans, so that the only options he envisions are staying in Haran or returning to the ancestral home. He adds that the people of Ur are looking, quote, are looking for me to return to them. The verb he uses, and I hope I pronounce this right, Yahasheshu is a form of the one used for his studying the stars in verse 17. The expression here is literally they are seeking or looking for, desiring, demanding, pursuing my face. That's a literal translation, I guess, as much as they could do. Does this imply that the residents of Ur want Abram to return, not to punish him for arson and murder, but for a favorable reason? Why would he think about returning if his life would be endangered? It is likely that the line serves to solve a problem that arises from Genesis 12:1, where the Lord commands Abram, go from your country and your kindred. The terms country and kindred, or place of birth, seem as if they apply to Ur, not Haran. But when Abram received the command, he was already in Haran, which was hardly his land and his birthplace. The writer in Jubilees explains the puzzling terms by saying that Abram was trying to decide whether to return to Haran, his land and birthplace, and that God will tell him not to do that. So and then Abram requests that God make the right decision clear. Mm-hmm. So that explains that problem, I guess?
Yes. When he had finished speaking and praying, then the word of the Lord was sent to him through me. So this is the angel who's talking to Moses,
sure,
who is apparently also the angel who talked to Abram. Now you come from your land, your family, and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a large and numerous people. I will bless you and magnify your reputation. You will be blessed in the earth. All the nations of the earth will be blessed in you. Those who bless you I will bless, while those who curse you I will curse. I will be God for you, your son, your grandson, and all your descendants. Do not be afraid. From now until all the generations of the earth, I am your God. Now Abram learns Hebrew and studies his ancestors' books. Then the Lord God said to me, open his mouth and his ears to hear and speak with his tongue in the revealed language.
Yeah, the good old revealed language.
Yes. From the day of the collapse, it had disappeared from the mouths of all humanity. I opened his mouth, ears, and lips and began to speak Hebrew with him in the language of the creation.
Yes.
He took his father's books, they were written in Hebrew, and copied them. From that time he began to study them, while I was telling him everything that he was unable to understand. He studied them throughout the 6 rainy months.
So the verses are presented as a continuation of God's orders to the angel to respond to Abram's prayer, but the verses are separated from the first part of the answer by a second indication that God addressed the angel. This part of his discourse, of his disclosure to Abram, centers on the Hebrew language. Now that Abram has received the summons to migrate to Canaan, rather than remaining in Haran or returning to Haran, and the promise that he will be richly blessed, he acquires the ability to understand the language of the creation. Perhaps it is not accidental that in identifying Hebrew as the language of the creation, the angel refers to the deity as the Lord God, the title for him in Genesis 2-3. Yeah, they have a very high. You would think someone would still know Hebrew, right?
No.
One guy, and he died.
It was removed from their minds. And
Bummer.
magically gifted to Abram.
And what language do you think he was speaking before this?
Babylonian.
Okay.
Yep.
Variant 245.
But moreover, those Enochian magic people, the John D.
Yeah, what about him?
They're full of shit, man. The language of creation is Hebrew.
Yeah.
It's in Jubilees. It literally, when it says, let there be light, that was literally what God said in that language.
Oh, actually, hold on. The deity refers to Hebrew as the revealed language, likely meaning the language in which revelation takes place.
Mm-hmm.
To this point in the story, the reader of Jubilees would know neither which language Abram grew up speaking, nor that there was a Hebrew language. Jubilees 3:28 reported that the animals and the first 2 humans spoke a common language in the garden, and 10:24-25 related the story of the tower with the confusion of tongues and dispersal of peoples into language groups. But in neither passage is there mention of Hebrew.
Well, apparently it is Hebrew because the books were written in Hebrew.
Well, yeah. But that was, way after this. Yeah, that's a good point about what language they would have been.
They noted that Noah wrote these books.
That was beforehand.
Yeah, and now Abram is reading the books of his ancestors. Now, Chekhov's gun, right? You don't make mention of Noah writing these books if you're not going to bring it up later.
Sure.
Right? So these are the books. Those books were written in Hebrew, which means that Noah was speaking and writing Hebrew.
Yes.
And if Noah was speaking and writing Hebrew, then it seems to reason that Hebrew was the language that they were all speaking.
Right. And then once you get to the whole Tower of Babel thing, then they get dispersed. For some reason, they have forgotten Hebrew. Maybe it's, just changed so much where it's where you just can't.
Yeah,
it's not recognizable.
You have some people who say wow and some people who say vav.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense.
So something like that, but to a much more drastic degree.
Yeah.
And then now this language is being reintroduced I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This information is being given to Abram.
Yes. So he's studying these. Then Abram and Terah agree about his departure for Canaan. In the 7th year, the 6th week, 1953, he spoke with his father and told him that he was leaving Haran to go to the land of Canaan to see it and return to him. His father, Terah, said to him, "Go in peace. May the eternal God make your way straight. May the Lord be with you and protect you from every evil. And may no person have power over you to harm you. Go in peace. If you see a land that, in your view, is a pleasant one in which to live, then come and take me to you. Take Lot, the son of your brother Haran, with you as your son. May the Lord be with you. Leave your brother Nahur with me until you return in peace. Then all of us together will go with you." And that's the end of chapter 12.
Yeah, that's what we got. Really not too much commentary to add there. But yes, that is the end of chapter 12 and the end of our readings for the day.
Indeed.
Talked about some good stuff.
Some good stuff, some demonology.
Yeah, and Abram burned all the he burned a whole temple.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he did this raven thing.
He was a human scarecrow, yes.
Yep.
What
So-
what would you I would pay good money to see Abram play the scarecrow in Wizard of Oz. Would you not? Because it seems like he'd be perfect for the role.
OG character.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
OG.
gonna say, now I know where the Arabic road is from, and then you'd be like, no way.
It's from Ur.
It's from
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Perhaps Haran.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed the stream today, I'm not going to validate your question with an answer, Lawrence. If you enjoyed the stream today, check out our Patreon, check out our Amazon wish list, check out our Teespring, our Facebook, our Twitter.
Speaking of Patreon, I just added a source list for the next video.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's on there if you want to see it. All patrons have access to that. And then in a couple days, I'll be posting the video script. And then probably next week, I'll be posting the video.
Oh.
Heavenly Horseman.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can send you a source list for the Quran video I'm making.
Okay.
Throw it on Patreon too.
Sure. If those are all the sources you're going to use.
Yeah, I'm not reading anymore.
Okay, fair
Fuck
enough.
You can go on forever.
Yeah.
You can literally keep reading more about the Quran for the rest of your life.
That is tradition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, lots of cool stuff on Patreon, so go check that out. And we also have a wish list if you want to add to this table and all the books here, or if you want to just get us some books that we can read. We will do that, and then once we do that, there'll probably be sources and videos. So you are investing in yourself and your own education and knowledge. We read the books so you don't have to. That's I guess a motto now.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. We got Teespring. Also, if you just want a shirt, because if you're a $10 patron or more, you get entered into the monthly T-shirt giveaway, and you win it. You could win a T-shirt every month, just like Landon did for most months.
Yeah, Landon has so many of our shirts.
He has all of them.
Please sign up for the patron goal so that Landon doesn't run out of shirts that he can have. He'll have like doubles of everything.
Yeah. Or we have to keep making new shirts just to send him one that he doesn't have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do that, you can just get a shirt on Teespring. That exists as well.
Yep.
And then we have Facebook and Twitter. It's free to follow us there.
Yeah. So I guess
Yeah.
until next time.
Yes,
we will
see you on Sunday.